Business is devilishly difficult. Most businesses fail. So what is it the super successful do? Well, over the last 20 years of being a business owner, I've generated millions of pounds and employed thousands of people, and I'm doing that today. In this video, I'm going to break down the 7 key points that I use in my businesses to make sure they're super successful. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to swipe and deploy my ideas into your entrepreneurial journey. Let's break them down. We're going to talk about the entrepreneur's pyramid. I've met lots of business owners. I've coached lots of business owners, and I've tried to help understand where they are on the entrepreneurial journey. And it's really working out where you are first of all. There's 3 types of entrepreneurs. The top 5%, I call these the investorpreneurs. The middle group are the 15%, and I call these guys the entrepreneurs. And then the bottom group, which is the biggest group, we call these the solopreneurs. And I discovered this formula years ago when I was speaking on a stage at a seminar. I think it's really powerful for you to understand as well. Most business owners are what we call solopreneurs. They make the bulk of our entrepreneurs, usually in the gig economy, swapping time for money. Think about a jobbing plumber or an electrician. They're going out, quoting for a job, doing the job, getting paid, waiting to get paid, and they're working really, really hard, but actually not moving forward. The next group is the entrepreneurs. There's around 15% of my entrepreneurs pyramid. These guys are seekers of opportunity. They're working incredible hours and actually usually turning lots of money. But are they making any money? That's the big question. Then the top 5%, I call these guys the investorpreneurs. They're entrepreneurial, but they also think like investors too. And I've coined this phrase because if you've got entrepreneurs seeking opportunity and investors are seeking profit, what we really want is to seek profitable opportunities. The top 5% are very clever at knowing about good business models. Once you know a good business model, you can rinse and repeat that model for real strong profitability. Let's look at point number 2, which is this little formula for success. E+M=S. That's entrepreneurship plus management equals success. When you're running an organization, a business, you've got to have vision. You've got to think with the end in mind, know what the end result is. What's the journey that you're going on? Well, that's entrepreneurship, that's leadership. But what you also need is day-to-day management, people that are going to finish stuff. And that's management. Management is absolutely essential for business success. Think of it like running a school. The entrepreneur's the head teacher, thinking about the vision for the school, where we want to take the school. And that vision attracts the very best teachers to go and work in that school for the students' success. And the teachers in this scenario are the management. So you need someone driving the business, thinking about the future, and you need really good management on the day-to-day. My businesses have been super successful on the back of really good management. Remember, if you haven't got an assistant, you're the assistant. You need people that are good at administration, good at day-to-day, good at doing the books and the accounting, and then you need someone that's thinking about the big term vision as well. You need both, and that's E+M=S. Number 3, we are going to do slow pounds and fast pounds. And if you're watching this from across the pond, you can do slow dollars and fast dollars. Smart people take an element of their salary and invest it into good, safe assets, maybe a mortgage paying off a property. Well, I do the same for my business. I take some of my profits and invest it into commercial property or even making content or books, things that I don't get immediate return from, but over time they turn into really powerful assets. So you must have slow pound building assets in your business. Every business gets through some bumps along the journey, especially if you're in it for the long run. And if you've got lots of assets around you, those assets will protect you if you have a wobbly moment in business. So good entrepreneurs are investing in slow pounds and fast pounds. The business can't just be about cash flow. It must have some long-term assets in it as well. Number 4 is growing your business, not operating your business. So most business owners start out in their entrepreneurial career and they go out and get customers. They're in a growth mindset. They're desperate to get some revenue into their business. And that's when they're at their most entrepreneurial. Then good things happen. They get some customers, they get some revenue into their business, and then they start servicing that business and go into an operating mindset. They become the manager of their business. They stop becoming the marketeer and sales generator of their business. And I kid you not, every super successful entrepreneur and business owner that I meet stays in the growing mode rather than the operating mode. And I get it, when you're operating a business, you've got emails coming in, you've got deliveries to get out, you sort of go into that role to save money for the business. But actually, you can't ever afford not to be in growth mindset. You've really got to become the chief sales position of the business, generating as much cash flow, awareness into the business, and then employ people to operate the business. In your mindset, think to yourself, am I doing a £10, £20, £30, £40, £50 an hour task here? Or am I doing a £1,000, £10,000 an hour task? So when I'm going through my business, if I'm making a YouTube video about content, that content could be watched 1 million times. And I see that as being a really high value use of my time. And it helps me get leads and interest into my business that generates more sales. If I'm buying a company or raising money for my businesses, all of that is helping grow my business. I mean, if I buy a company, for example, I could be generating millions of pounds worth of revenue for my business. If I'm doing stuff like VAT returns, accountancy, customer service, or payroll, or working out staff rotas, I'm actually doing a disservice to my business because I'm going into the operating mindset. From the age of 16, I employed people. You know, I was an entertainer and I needed someone to drive me to all my gigs. And I quickly worked out that if I employ people to do those lower value tasks for me, I can do really good stuff to grow my business. Therefore, I can employ more people and grow my business. So you growing your business or operating your business? Most people are operating it. Get yourself into growing. Number 5 is this magic word, leverage. If you meet a high achieving entrepreneur, leverage is in their middle name. For me, leverage is described in this one little sentence: doing the work once, getting paid forever. If you think about your business, do you create a systems and operations manual so that your team exactly know how you want your business to be run? That might take you hours of work to get that document created, but you can use it again and again and again. Buying a company and doing all the work to buy that company, you're putting all that effort in, but you can leverage that work again and again as you get the repeatable cash flow. So if you're not doing leverage tasks, if you're doing repeatable tasks in your business, you find you don't get to where you want to get to. Leverage, do the work once, get paid forever. Number 6 is the 3 KPI rule. Now, when I'm running my companies, I don't have loads and loads of KPIs. I have these 3 essential ones. Number 1, we produce a monthly profit and loss. See your business as a big ship on the ocean and a storm's coming and you need a map to get out of that storm. Well, that's your monthly profit and loss. And get your QuickBooks, look at it, and you can understand it and you can navigate out of storms. Number 2, your average customer value. What are you getting in terms of spend per head or average transactional value? That is the one to watch. See, lots of people want to grow their revenue. What's your turnover this year? How much is your turnover going to grow? But actually, let's focus on our average customer value, because if we can get that improving, usually the difference falls to the bottom line. It costs a lot of money to get a customer, so you want to get your customers spending more with you rather than just growing the volume of customers. The monthly profit and loss is the number 1, closely followed by average customer value. So what's number 3? Oh, you're wondering, well, it's your labor to turnover ratio. So whatever sector you're in, maybe you run a coffee shop, you work out what your revenue is and then how much of that revenue as a percentage are you spending on your labor bill. In most businesses, the biggest cost walks on 2 legs, and so we want to understand what that is on a daily basis. We want to create a dashboard so that we're tracking our labor to turnover ratio. It's really important that you have a Goldilocks approach to this. You've got it just right. You don't want it too cold or too hot. Why? If it's too cold and you're not spending enough on labor, you have really bad customer service, you see your average customer value tanking and people go elsewhere. Spend too much and guess what? You go bust. So you really want to keep that understood. Maybe benchmark it and create a little mastermind with other business owners that are in a different geographical patch and share these numbers with them and they share their numbers with you, and together you can coach each other to try and build a more profitable business. Number 7 is buying businesses or buying companies. I've done this process so many times now and it's quadrupled my profitability and growth in some years. There are so many businesses for sale, especially as the baby boomers are getting to retirement age and they want someone to take over their business, and that could be you. And there's many creative ways that you can finance a business. There's business loans, and banks are very supportive of lending to businesses that are tried, tested and proven. You know, we spoke about at the beginning of the video is coming up with a really good model. But if you're finding a company that's over 10 years old, the model's going to be good. And actually, when businesses are over 10 years old, they're in the top 5% because we know the data tells us that 95% of businesses don't make it to their 10-year anniversary. So you've got the bank, the seller could lend you some money, or you can raise money through crowd lending or cash flow lending. Buying businesses is a really fast way that I've used to accelerate the profitability of my organisation. I've been James Sinclair. Hopefully you've liked this video and you've got some tips and tricks to help grow your business. Make sure you like and subscribe to the QuickBooks Studios UK YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
Boss. There we go. Happy days.